It's getting a little dark, and I want to be able to see through these slides, so I'll tell you what they are. Number 3, this is continuing on to where we had a picnic on the island we were picnicking, and this is a view of the distant islands. You can see that the weather is fairly clear on picture 3. Picture 4 is a picture of Kit on the shore, and you can see other people in the background. Number 5 is a picture of the ocean looking out from where we were. It's not too spectacular, I don't believe, but let's see what 6 has on it. Oh yeah, 6 is a picture of me sitting underneath a, I believe it was a mango tree, I'm not sure. But you can get a pretty good idea of what I look like anyway from that. That wasn't pretty good. That was quite a long while ago, actually. Picture 7 is of about the same thing of the island, showing it was fairly low tide at this time. You can see some things sticking up out of the water, so forth. Number 8 is a picture of the LCU, which brought us to the island. You can see various people swimming around it, and there's a sort of a lonely mango tree off to the left if you look very closely on the slide. There's also some coconut palm leaves hanging over the top of it. Number 9 is a picture of the island on the way back. It's very, very small. It's called Udot. U-O-T, I think it's Udot. I don't know how many people live on there at the present time. We haven't really been there, so I really can't tell you, but at least you have a picture of it anyway. Number 10 is, you want to move a little bit, Kit? Yeah, that's good. Is a picture, if you look at one of my previous pictures, there's a picture of a storm. You see a big black cloud and so forth coming toward you. Well, in that picture, it was taken toward Moen and Dublon and Udot, and it was completely blocked in. This particular picture shows what it looks like in the clear of day. This is number 10. Number 11 is a picture of one of the Western Islanders in Truk who came to see us. If you look in your National Geographic, you'll see a picture of one of these sailing canoes. I'd hoped to get a ride in one of these canoes when they were here, and they'd hoped to give, or they did give, most all of the trainees rides in them. But the time that the Marianas group got rides in these canoes, I had to take Kit to the hospital, so I didn't get to go in them. And the next day, when I tried to go over and get a ride in one, the weather was becalmed, so that they didn't go out. But this shows a picture. The man at this time did come out for us, and he was very obliged to show us his canoe and so forth. And here's a picture of him on number 11 and without the sail.
I'd like to say here that these men came from the Western Islands for what we had a Micronesian night, and they danced the stick dance for the whole group, which was very interesting, using the sticks and just the men dancing. I believe I mentioned their coming before.
Yes. This next picture is a picture 12, or slide 12 of the second roll. Is a picture of me on the boat with a man. I forget his name at the present time, but it's quite interesting when you figure these people have traveled about 185 miles on this boat, about 8 of them. They fill up the boat with pounded breadfruit and coconuts, and they have a jug of water on the boat, and they had a couple turtles, yeah, that they caught and brought. This particular boat is 11 or I guess it's 12 years old, and it's sort of carbon black on the bottom and sort of red up near the water or near the top, and they really it's quite fantastic. Although I think that this type of an art or trade or whatever you call it is just dying out. They do navigate by compass now instead of by the stars, and they are a little more westernized. There's also a picture in the National Geographic of them shopping, these men with a sort of, you can see the pointed hat on top of the man's head. There's a picture of them shopping in TTC, which is on Moen, which is a big department store, which we do most of our shopping when we do go shopping. Or the only department store to go shopping is on Moen. But this is a completely unique thing. It's one of the most unique things in the world, I think, and a thing that is, just vastly disappearing because of the, power boats and so forth. And I'd say it's probably one of the things that I've really disappointed about Udot because I found no sailing canoes here when I arrived, and this was sort of disconcerting because it's a beautiful place to sail. There's so much water out here, and there's so much. Well, there is quite a bit of wind most of the time, and I've heard in the winter or the dry season that there's a lot more. There's quite a steady breeze, and that it is beautiful for sailing, and then that there just aren't many sailboats or really many boats of any kind, except maybe just little canoes that the people go out and sail around in. It is interesting that these people really know about the surroundings around here and about the winds and so forth. And that when these people came, it took them about a week from the Western Islands. In other words, it was the Western Carolinas. We're in the Eastern Carolinas. And the winds blow for about 6 days. And they know just when they start to blow, so they take advantage of them and, come all the way with them. And then there's a lull of maybe 3 or 4 days in which there's very little wind. And then the winds begin to blow the other way. In other words, to the west instead of, well, they blow to the east first, and they blow to the west. And when they begin to blow to the west, they're over here, they know the exact moment, and they hop in their canoes, hoist sail, and wham, off they go to the Western Islands, which to me is very unique because I thought the winds were generally prevailing like they are in the United States, but from what we've been told, they aren't. So this is a very interesting fact. But I do wish that they had stayed here longer than they did. But unfortunately they didn't, so I hope some other time to be able to get a ride in one of the canoes. Now, slide 13 is a picture right out in front of our house, looking down the road. You can see the coconut palms and the little boy, I believe, in the road and so forth. This will give you a little bit of an idea what the vegetation is like here. Picture 14 was taken at one of our area studies meetings. It's right out under the palm trees, not far from our house, and the man in the middle, sort of bald, is Joe Tin, who is one of the wealthiest men in Micronesia. He owns a supermarket and a used car lot and an insurance agency and many things in Saipan. And he was giving us a lecture about the economy of Micronesia and of the Marianas in particular. You can see some of the other volunteers sitting around. This is how many of our meetings are carried on, sort of just sitting up under a palm tree or etc., outside under the sky, when it's clear, that is. Picture 15 is right out across from our house, looking out toward the water. These are some of the kids who live in our house. They're sitting on the boat. On this particular day, the boat was sitting up on shore rather than being in the water. I think the rest of the kids' expressions and so forth is sort of self-explanatory. Okay, I'll stop saying and so forth since it's probably getting kind of boring. Slide 16 was taken right outside our door looking toward the water also. This is Sirocco and one of her children, and I guess the other 4 are her children too, aren't they, kid?
No, she has 2 children, and the other children belong to the other woman that lives in the house.
Oh, well, we haven't been able to get all the people straight in our house, so, but there's a picture of a mother and a few Micronesian children anyway. Slide 17. Let me see here if I can get it around. The light's getting kind of dim out here, so. Slide 17, you can see our house on the right and the Truckee's house on the left. You can note that the Truckee's house is sort of up on stilts. It is a completely wooden house. It's quite old. The roof is tin and it's kind of rusty. It doesn't look so in this picture, but it mostly is. Our house on the right, which you can get a much better idea now that you see the picture, has a cement foundation with wood, cedar and plywood interior and of course screen. And they're the sort of like, I guess you'd call them sort of awnings that roll down over the front. These are what you roll down when it really rains very hard. And you can see quite a few kids and so forth out in front of the house. This is a pretty typical picture, I think, of what our daily environment looks like here. Wouldn't you say, kids? That kind of pictures the house and people next door and so forth. And
yes.
There's always a lot of activity outside the house during the day, and there are always a lot of kids running around and singing and sort of shouting and etc. I'm not supposed to say etc. or so forth, but on slide 18 you see the man of the house next door, whose name is Kenito, he's in the red shirt sitting down. These are some of his friends crowding around him. Two is standing up and one is sitting down. This is also looking... That big island in the background is Moan, which is, again, the capital of Truk. It's sort of weird to think that, at least for me, coming out here, that these people really love to have their pictures taken. I know when I was in Europe, people shied away from this, and they didn't want to have their pictures taken, and they kind of, you walked around sort of like a tourist, but you walk around here with a camera, and people just beg you to have their pictures taken. It's really amazing. It's almost better to walk around without your camera sometimes, because they just, I know a couple of the guys who came here had Polaroid cameras, and they took pictures of the people, and then I showed them in the Polaroid. It was just, the people just couldn't believe it. It was really amazing. So they've gotten the idea that all of us have Polaroids, and that as soon as we take their picture, the finished thing will come out, which just isn't so. But even so, they love to have their pictures taken, and so forth. This second, number 19, is another picture toward Moan. I didn't know I'd taken that many pictures toward Moan, but I will label these also before I send them out, so that you'll get an idea, even if something happens to the tape, or I'm not too clear on these. I'll at least label them so you'll have a little idea of what they're like. This picture, number 20, was taken right on the beach across from the road. In other words, right out in front of the houses, which you saw a couple slides ago. There's sort of a road that goes down.
Oh, the extended path.
The extended path, yes. The extended path is probably a better name for it. But out in front of this is sort of a beach, which maybe looks a little better here than it actually is. But this is looking toward the western, the eastern end of Udot, I believe. And Udot is, I think I've mentioned before, is sort of a banana-shaped island in not the ultimate degree, but sort of banana-shaped. It's very long. It's not that actually wide, but it's quite a long island. The last slide here, slide 21, is a picture of a little baby, which lives next door, who's just finished taking a bath in this little tub, which is an amusing story, which I won't tell at the present time, actually, but he is the youngest member of the tribe, or the family next door. It's kind of sad when you think that many of these little children don't survive, and that the infant mortality rate out here is very high. I think it's particularly sad when we think of our families at home, not having... I don't think they value their children very much, but I don't think that their children really survive. Many of them survive to what we would call a cute age level. So would you say, Kitty?
Yeah, I agree with that.
One I took upwards of a coconut tree, which you can see very, very plainly, and the other was right around the corner of our house, in which you can see several of the people, and you can see the back of the truckee's house, which in that slide, about 3 slides, I guess it was slide 17 or so, it was on the left, and you can see our rain barrel, which is orange in the picture. I think as Kit probably or I have told you, we get our water either from the spring out here, which they have piped down from the mountain, or from our rain catchments. If it doesn't rain very often, we run out of water very, very quickly as far as the catchment water goes. It's only a 55-gallon drum. I mean, if you're showering and so forth, it doesn't last that long. But I think that the water situation on Udot is much better now than before we came. And I think that this is a significant... it's progress, I think, as far as one of the few things I think I want to get into. I think we want to get into the progressive part of what the Peace Corps has done here, and what the Peace Corps hasn't done here, and what the good things the Peace Corps has done, and what the bad things the Peace Corps has done.
At a different time, we had a baseball game in Chamorro. During the summer of 1967, Micro 5 training on Udot, the trainees going to the Marianas and their language informants had a baseball game in which only Chamorro was spoken. The administrative building is in the background. Some of the participants were Howard Rake, Elaine Halprin, Ann Dorn, Dennis Brennan, John Leakley, Fred Uviana, Steve, Carol Mahako, Carol Brill, Louis Tenario, and Ann Cabrera. From the view in this photo, the Udot school is seen in the background. Most of the schools in Micronesia are built with this design. Identified on this photo as playing baseball and speaking Chamorro are Steve, Maura Melky, Jerry Fight, Jerry Melky, Howard Rake, and Diane Wildman. We had a different language teacher every 2 weeks, and learning groups were small. The teachers were creative in making the classes interesting and active, with lots of practice. Some of the people identified in this photo are Howard Rake, Ann Doran, Maria Mofness, Da Tenorio, Anna Cabrera, Jerry Fight, Norm Shapiro, Karen, Dennis Brennan, Carol Mahako, Carol Brill, John Leakley, Frank, and Fred. On August 19, 1967, High Commissioner William K. Norwood visited the Micro 5 Peace Corps training on Udot. The Girl Scouts, among others, met him and his wife and presented them with flowers. In the photo, John Pinsetich and his wife are following them. They stayed for 3 days, and we saw them later on Onai, where he watched Kit teach. In this second picture, we see the people on Udot who gave him a feast, practicing entertainment as they walk around the field, singing songs in Truckese and English. At a different time, sea turtles were caught for serving at the feast. Here is one being knocked unconscious. An empty turtle shell is in the background. About 5 men worked on 5 turtles. The women cleaned the smaller parts. We had turtle steak and turtle soup. Here, a turtle is being cut open. He has been hit on the head, but a man still needs to hold him. This turtle is being cleaned on the end of Phanoma Dock on Udot. 5 turtles were cleaned. The heart was still beating in this one, and it had eggs. They saved and used most of the parts. After they were done with these initial parts, the turtle meat was weighed. Misko is checking the weight. She was in charge of food along with 2 Peace Corps volunteers. Each piece weighed about 30 pounds.